Good evening everyone, good afternoon, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to carry on with another lecture, another course which came right after the Reconstruction period, which is the Gilded Age. The Gilded Age started after 1877, after the end of the Reconstruction period, until the beginning of the 20th century, which was another era called the Progressive Era. So the Gilded Age was a period of change, and after 1865 people started to move westwards and they settled in the, for example, river of Mississippi, and they have defeated the native Indians and the beginning of the reservations. The birth of, there was something quite important. It is the birth of the American industrial society. When we say gilded, something which is gilded, gild comes from the word gold, gilded. It means something which is very bad, but you put a taint on it, which is golden, so it would look beautiful, although it is bad inside. This is about the Gilded Age. So things were not very good. There was corruption in America at that time, and among the corruption that existed, we are going to see about it now. Like I said, it was the industrialization in America, and who says industrialization? Of course, some benefited from it, and we call it a blessing, and for others, it was a curse. Why? Because the chiefs exploited the proletarians or the ordinary workers. They were exploited. And the American was a new industrial giant that wanted to surpass the British Empire. So the goal of the USA, um, it was to surpass the British Empire in terms of industry. There was a rapid economic growth. It was the roaring years of industry in the North. So the North was already industrious, and it was this industrialization that appeared during the Gilded Age. It made things more vivid. There was also immigration. A lot of immigration happened during the Gilded Age, and big businessmen entered politics to have some advantages, such as not paying taxes, for example. They were called tycoons or robber barons. So you have some politicians, not really politicians, they were businessmen who joined uh, politics in order to have some advantages, like I said, some in order to make things easy for them, to avoid paying taxes and to take money from the national treasury, for example. And there was a shift from rural to industrial. Who says rural speaks about agriculture, and the one who says industrial speaks about urbanization. But of course, agriculture developed as well. It was not neglected, but industry developed agriculture. It means some farmers were replaced by machines, by inventions. So these farmers went to join industry in urban places. Um, so there was a lot of products, and also uh, there was not really products. There was a lot of produce, because product is industrious, and all product is related to industry, but a produce is related to agriculture. So when you have a lot of produce, the prices are cheap. So the farmers had problems with loans, because if you want to sustain a farm, if you want to take care of your farm, you need to take money from the government, and you buy things, you buy materials, you buy machines in order to help you farm your farm, the land. But since there was a lot of produce, the price was very cheap, and they couldn't pay back the government. So these farmers were a bit in problem. So then we have a birth of new parties, such as the Populist Party. A populist party basically, a populist person is someone who gives or makes fake promises, and there was also a shift of industrialization from light industrialization to heavy industrialization. When I say light, means small products, and heavy, it's big machines, something heavy. And of course, why did they shift from small to heavy? Through findings, through scientific discoveries, inventions, such as um, George Westinghouse air brakes invention, or Thomas Edison electricity. John Rockefeller he created what we call a Standard Oil Company, which is related to petroleum, and Alexander Bell, who invented the phone, and Theodore Viel, who invented or who established telephone and um, telephone companies, and he invented um, this invention or telephone or the telegraph. Sorry, the telegraph was invented. The origins of the telegraph are believed to be invented in the prison because people did not have a way, or prisoners, the convicts did not have the way to communicate between each other, so they had to tap on the walls, and this is how it developed. And of course there was the corporate wealth, and it is to work in groups in order to increase the wealth of an individual, and they hired a lot of people as well. But there were some crises, and there was a crisis, and trade union was made. Syndicates were formed, such as National Labor Union, but it didn't last due to economic depression of 1873, and the Knights of Labor as well as a union, led by Turn Powderly, in the late 1870s. The American Federation of Labor in 1886, led by Samuel Comics, and this federation did not fall, sorry, and because it was based on skilled crafts. So this is it about the Gilded Age. You can have more information elsewhere, of course, if you do some research. So since we have only 7 minutes, I'm going to carry on with the last chapter of this program, which is the Progressive Era. Or yeah, it started from 1901 until 1921. It took approximately 20 years. So when we say the progressive era, to progress means to develop. So it was a movement, philosophical movement, um, which aimed to improve the American life, and to develop the political systems and to expand it, and the transparency way of doing, because everyone had to participate. Uh, for example, if your businessman was given a budget to do something, people should be aware about everything he's doing. Otherwise, there would be corruption. So this is what we call transparency way of doing. People are aware about what's happening in their government, and where is their money going. So reforms, of course, there were some problems in the Gilded Age. So the progressive era aimed to fix those problems, to eliminate those problems, and to make the American life better. Reforms were needed in politics, of course, as well in economy. So in politics, um, so the politicians, right? So politicians must not should not invest in industry like before. So a politician, uh, the only job of a politician is to work in politics and not invest in industry. Otherwise, there would be corruption. He would take some rights which are not rightful to them. Then population reforms such as bribery. They wanted to end bribery and some bad and negative behavior which was spread in the American society in general. And economic reforms such as farming, the problems between the middle and higher class, and of course the middle class were reacting to the injustice and absence of the laissez-faire policy, which we have spoken before in the previous videos, if you remember, in the British Civilization. The government now is interfering, and it is not letting the people do whatever they want in order to supervise them, in order to see whether there is corruption or not, to eliminate it. So democracy was well kept, and they were denouncing bad companies by the government For example, people who produced fake products, for example. The press denounced those companies and those people in order to be judged and punished by court or the government in general. Some of the accomplishment of this era is the political reforms. They encouraged the system of voting and the federal action. It means the federal government interfered in business in order to supervise with national affairs, and the direct election, and of course the 17th Amendment, which consists of the suffrage of women was granted, which means women are able to vote now, which was ratified in 1913, and of course in 1920 social reforms and the 19th Amendment. Now, for some of the weaknesses, um, big states only benefited from the progressive era, some states did not, and of course uh, the fact that some people were also an obstacle to this development in the United States of America. So today I have finished with the American civilization when it comes to the progressive era. Next year, I will probably start with the First World War, and I shall carry on with other things or other periods. Now, this is the last lecture of this year concerning the American civilization. I will still be posting some videos concerning the American literature as well. I hope that you are interested in that. Otherwise, please share this video with your fellow students or your friends who are interested in the American civilization, or perhaps in the progressive era, who knows. Leave a like in the Facebook channel if it's possible. That would encourage me to do more, and also you would be notified every time I post a video. So that's it. I tell you, see you next time, and peace.